It has been a good long while since I have recorded any Vampire Jenny, and I apologize for that. To make up for that, I am recording part 15? I think it's 15. Yeah, it's 15. Which I believe is page 29 of 39. So without further ado, let us begin. I told you to stay out of my head. They'll get suspicious if you keep doing this, Jenny snapped. After shutting herself in her room, she could feel him vying for control, and if someone was outside, this only served to her advantage. Was wondering what caused you such distress, Jenny. Nothing malicious. Vecna snipped, resting an incorporeal hand on her shoulder. Maybe because I'm betraying the people I consider family by helping you with this. Elle is Will's sister, the party's friend, and Hopper's daughter. You're trying to get me to kill someone who has feelings and hopes and dreams. I'll lead your armies, fine. I'll drink the blood of random people, fine. But I'm not killing anyone, let alone someone so close to my family. I know you've rooted around in my head, so why don't you review the lore on Kaz the Bloody-Handed and get back to me, because the whispers of my sword is severing my connections to the people close to me. If you make me commit homicide, I'll follow through with all the lich hunting planning I've been doing. Jenny snarled, baring her teeth. Very clever, faking a plan to kill me when you know most of them are ineffective, but having a few viable plans among them to throw them off. I do respect your ingenuity with these, but you don't get a choice in the matter. You will be helping me grow stronger, and I don't care how long it takes. You will be the one taking down 11, and should you betray me, what army would you defeat me with? Vecna snidely glibbed, examining her battle plans. He wasn't impressed by her back talk, but her benefits still outweighed the cost of keeping her on as his lieutenant. He couldn't always see into her head, but when he could, it was a cacophonous maelstrom of plans and half-baked ideas whipping around at light speed. She was always thinking, always running parallel processes, and he could only see the surface when she was far away from a rift. Your army, Henry. Your army and I are going to be the ones to march on your castle, destroy your phylactery, and cut off your head. Turning your monsters to my side is as simple as setting a trap for them. You aren't even aware of my first recruit. If you continue with this talk, murdering my friends, I might just go to your enemy for advice on how to better manipulate my connection with you and turn this dynamic around. You can hear them through my senses, right? They're coming to save me from you. Jenny warned, anger bubbling in her voice as she showed him her straight flush in the universe's cards. She could easily betray him without his knowledge, and there was nothing he could do to stop her. She was far enough away from a rift that it took a lot for him to get access to her. It drained the already dwindling power he was using to regenerate. Vecna had thought that 4 of a kind would pull him through this hand of cosmic poker. What he didn't account for was his opponent's intelligence and skill with a bluff. The notes of "I want you back" filtered through Jenny's door, snapping her out of her stupor. She tumbled to the floor, her body making a resounding thud through the floorboards. Jenny? Jenny, are you okay? Robin's panicked voice rang through the door. Jenny didn't respond. She wasn't okay, and friends don't lie, but she also didn't want to worry any of her friends. I can unlock the door, Els stated with a matter-of-fact tone. Yeah, Jenny would definitely be asking her on how to hoodwink a lich. Jenny noticed that trying to move sent sharp jolts of pain through her body, but not the same way a broken bone would hurt. She had definitely popped a blood vessel in her eye, though. She could both smell and feel the warm blood running down her cheek as the lock on the door slid open. I'm going to need lessons on how to mind battle with psychic powers, because I'm pretty sure I'm bleeding from the wrong spot. Does anyone have tissues? My parents will get mad if there's blood on the rug. Jenny commented, rubbing the back of her head where it hit the floor. Relief washed over Stephen Robin's faces at her renewed peppy attitude. Jane gave her a tissue to wipe the blood dripping down her cheek. "Did you see one?" Jane asked, looking her in the eyes, somehow overcoming the hypnotic power of them. "I did. He thinks I'm still working with him. My full intention is to behead him myself, but I'd prefer if you could teach me how to fend him off mentally. It's harder for him to stop me," she confirmed somberly. Worried glances from her friends exchanged made rage well up in her. "Why can't they just let me do this? I'm trying to help them." Jenny screwed her eyes shut and attempted to push the anger down. What she couldn't see was that she was crushing the soda can that she had left on her desk, and blood had started streaming down her other cheek. Her eyes snapped open, and the can dropped. A blood vessel in her left eye burst as well. "Well, that's new," Eddie commented, having heard the commotion after coming back inside and insisting the kids stay downstairs. "Yeah, popped a blood vessel in my other eye. Great. I'd love it if I could stop being overpowered, but I just keep beating Henry in the cosmic poker of fate." Jenny groaned, wiping the blood from the other side of her face. Goodness gracious, what she wouldn't give to just have stayed dead. "Jenny has superpowers now?" Mike asked, trying to get a peek of her. "I don't know about you, Mike, but I consider coming back from the dead, enhanced senses, fast healing, mind control, and turning Almond into a vampire to be superpowers," Dustin countered, elbowing the taller teen. "I'd rather not. I remind you that being a vampire sucks. There is no one I despise enough with the mortal fortitude to wish this kind of power upon, because I'd very quickly wish getting mauled to death by eyeless bats on my parents, but we all know they'd just use the power for evil and go on a rampage. It takes a lot of restraint and self-hatred to do what I'm doing. I care about all of you, except Jason. Enough to keep myself reined in and trained to use my powers to kill an evil wizard. I care enough to never wish the way I died on them, or I think they'd be irresponsible with the power because they don't hate themselves enough." A statement made everyone stare at the vampire. They hadn't fully made the connection that the reason she was a vampire in the first place was the way she died. It reminds me of one weekend during summer break, right before the flare entered the picture. My parents took me to another podunk town as a vacation, Gravity Falls, Oregon. It was where I was convinced the supernatural exists. I saw gnomes, a shapeshifter, multiple cryptids, the most cartoony people I've ever seen in my life. I didn't even begin to scratch the surface there. My parents dropped me off with a secretive recluse with 6 fingers and went about calling it quaint. This series of statistically improbable events feels like the weekend I spent there, Jenny reminisced, getting up from the floor and making her way onto the bed. "Well, what are you waiting for? Permission? Get in here and sit down before Jason hears the commotion and investigates so we can make him stand." Her friends filed into her room and found seats on the minimal furniture and the floor. Jenny looked at the family she had grown over the past few years with overwhelming fondness. They wouldn't be burdened by her vampiric abilities for much longer, after all. She made the connection that killing Vecna would probably kill her as well. She should have died when she bled out in the Upside Down. Vecna was just postponing the inevitable. She wasn't quite ready to write goodbye letters yet. Jenny knew that the plan kicked off in a week. It was plenty of time to write a letter to each of them and put them in the bag she always took on interdimensional adventures. It would crush them if they knew how likely she was to die in this endeavor. The simple solution was not to tell them. If one of them figured it out, she could just lie her way out of it. It hurt, but not as much as knowing that they would argue over whether her life was worth it to get rid of the diabolical wizard. It was. If it meant saving them more grief and loss, her death was worth it. Hey, maybe reincarnation was a thing, and she could come back and be friends with them all over again. And that is the end of part 15. Part 16... Next time, part 16, my lukewarm poetry and goodbye letters in which Jenny is very snarky. It's gonna be fun. I'm really sorry about not filming recently. I've been busy. I have a job. And I've just been like not able to film. But without further ado, good afternoon, good morning, good night, whatever time it is for you. Have a good time. Peace.